On Tuesday, December 5th, you've tuned into the NFT Morning Show. Got an action-packed show today. We're going to be discussing the ETH NFT volume hitting another local high. We're also going to be talking about whether or not we're going to see a significant pullback this month in December. Going to talk about Solana versus Ethereum price predictions over the next 3 months. And then, of course, we are going to be joined by some very special guests, Nick and Andrew from Claynosaurz halfway through the show. Very, very, very exciting day having one of the top teams in the NFT ecosystem on the show. Absolutely one of the top, if not the top on Solana. Absolutely love to see it. So we are going to get into the mix right away. Signal, why don't we just plow through this weather report right off the bat so we can kick things off? Oh, what do you want to talk about, big dog?
I mean, it just feels like a little bit like eager, you know? Maybe I'm wrong.
You saying I'm over eager?
Yeah, it's just like, oh, what am I going to talk about? Let me just dive right into the weather. I mean,
it felt over eager. I agree. It kind of went from like kissing to base 3 really quick.
Whoa!
I'm here with Claynosaurz. I'm so excited. I can't wait for the next thing to drop. And which is better, Solana ETH? Answer Solana. Let's discuss the weather report.
Are you doing an impression of me right now? Number one,
I'm not doing that, P.O.
I'm pretty offended right now, just straight off the top. Meanwhile, I got Signal making sexual references that are making me incredibly uncomfortable. I see my guy Zane Gaziani in the crowd right now, making me want to get an Italian sub. I really don't know which way is up right now. Nick, what did you want to talk about?
I just felt like there were a number of, opportunities to discuss. How's your morning going, dude?
Oh, it's good. It's good, buddy. Yeah, I'm going to be, just taking care of a lot of different stuff here. Very busy times for us going down to Art Basel for 36 hours this week. So I want to get all the I's dotted and the T's crossed this week. Then we have another trip next week. That'll be fun. How's your morning, Nick?
It's going pretty well. I didn't realize that it was 9 o'clock and was just chilling in the shower, taking my time, and the bottle blocked the view. Some bottle, I don't know, like face wash, blocked the view.
I was gonna ask, are you drinking in the shower, Nick?
Drinking?
They said you had the bottle on hand.
No, a face wash bottle, which is sitting on my counter outside of the shower, was blocking the view of the clock. And so the result was I didn't realize what time it was. I'm just chilling there, just hanging out, having deep thoughts, because that's my time for myself to, really think and contemplate what's going on. And, here I am showing up a couple minutes late for the video, which is I'm disappointed in myself. I'm gonna be honest.
Don't beat yourself up, Nick. Do you know what you should be excited about? You bought a little bit of that PEPE token, right?
I did buy some PEPE. Overall, the thing I've realized is the level of exposure that I have to some of the smaller tokens. I didn't balance it correctly, so I'd only put $1,000 in. But that would make sense if the portfolio was like, I don't know, 30,000 or something like that. But
you got that big dog portfolio.
I got a big portfolio now. You know what I'm talking about?
Portfolio's huge.
Dude, some people call me a super whale. So no, at this point, it's just slightly larger than last time. I'm going to be honest. I would call myself. I wouldn't call myself rich. I would just call myself not completely broke and at risk of going to zero. I guess theoretically we're all at risk of going to zero at any given moment. But yeah, so. I only put 1,000 into PEPE so far, and I feel like my small bet should be more like 5,000 right now.
I mean, look, it's hard, right? Because it is literally just a shit coin with a picture of the PEPE frog and a ticker. So it's not like it's, a potential quality kind of investment. But these things go up, and you're seeing Mando and OSF really get excited about PEPE right now. I looked at my small PEPE allocation, which was $850 as of last week. Been holding that for a while. It's now like $1,250, so it's literally up 50% in the past.
Wait, you have more money than me in PEPE?
Yeah, is that unacceptable?
What the hell, dude? I thought I was out here making moves. I was doing like a Clemente move. I was getting ready to put $20 here, $50 there.
No,
making
look at
moves on
it.
the
You
street.
saw the way those shoulders were wiggling. You
Trying-
don't want that.
maybe skipping lunch for a day, not getting the $20 sandwich just so I can allocate that to, you know, buy more Bitcoin or something like that.
Clemente says stuff to me. He's like, yeah, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to end up saving $20. And I'm just like, are we not paying you enough? It sounds like we're not paying you enough or something, Clemente.
He was telling me the rent he's getting ready to pay in Miami. It's not really a savings.
No, he's saving almost $1,000 a month just on the rent when you factor in the gym and the overall rent. And then when you take away the city and state tax, he's basically just going to be rich.
Okay, but
yeah, watch out. Watch out.
You
watch out. This
just watch out. Just stay away. Watch out.
Throw his wallet at you and you're going to just keel over and die. Be careful.
You combined the problem is you just combined a bunch of different variables. I understand Florida is cheaper overall, but his absolute rent price went down by like $250.
No, how much is it?
400. It went down by 400.
400.
Okay,
that's almost $5,000 a year.
And but a 2x in square footage.
Oh yeah, dude. The apartment is not comparable. He was going to a laundromat before.
5K savings.
That's crazy.
That's crazy, dude.
This guy was carrying laundry down 16 flights of stairs each day, Nick. Every single day.
Savings is basically double his salary. So this is really exciting now. So that's like, that is big boss move. So I do appreciate that.
Bunny, you got your hand raised. What's going on, Bunny?
Yeah, you guys are overlooking the fact that his old apartment in New York, the greatest city in the world, new apartment in Florida, lawless hellhole, right? Like,
all right. Can I say one thing about the best city in the world, dude? I paid $9 for a box of Frosted Flakes last night. What the hell is that?
Well, where did you? What the hell are you doing with Frosted Flakes? But B, did you go
to a corner store, like a bodega? Yeah.
I mean, the Whole Foods is like a 15-minute walk. So I might as well. Like, I'm not going to walk.
Whole Foods doesn't sell Frosted Flakes, player.
They do not sell Frosted Flakes. What I will say is I appreciate that move from Clemente because I was worried that in the 6 months he was here, he did not get the I don't know if Clemente can tell somebody that he really lived in New York after this.
He's definitely not a New Yorker. Like
Clemente, don't listen to them, dude. Life's gonna be great down here. It's 81. The sun is shining.
Crazy.
There's palm trees. It hasn't rained in 2 weeks. It's fucking beautiful. There's an ocean breeze all day. Nobody works. It makes no sense. Anywhere you walk, they're just not working. I saw some guy drinking mimosas at a park yesterday. He had a jug of orange juice and a bottle of champagne in a suit. I was like, what are you doing, dude? It is Monday at 11 a.m. and my man was just slamming them. I was like,
well, that's what homeless people do.
He was in a suit. He had a briefcase.
Homeless suit people. The Clemente is moving from one soft city to the next, basically, is what happened with the transition through having a little bit of a hard edge for about, how long? 3 months?
4.5.
Wow.
Wait. No, New York was longer than 4.5.
I moved August,
September, October, November, December.
Oh my God!
You're doing the right thing. Dude. You're doing the right thing.
God.
Don't let them sway you away from this beautiful decision.
He stayed in an Airbnb for the amount of time that he was in New York.
What was even the point, dude? It is wild that it feels like way longer than 4.5 months because me and Clemente were like working together in person. It felt like a year or something. But hey, look,
New York kept getting paid Washington state taxes instead of New York. But I don't know that it's any better. Florida will definitely be in.
Washington State has no state income tax.
Okay, then that is way better.
Way better. Well, real quick, I mean, look. New York has made it basically impossible to live here in many ways. The rent is, no joke, 2x from 2020. Literally, it's 2x from what it used to be. I used to pay half the price of what I pay now, and it was a 2-bedroom apartment. Maybe not at half the price, but it's less. And I had a roommate, so it was like way less. New York makes it really tough. Miami seems to be much easier, and they're building a bunch new buildings, so there's going to be like more competition. The rent's probably going to go lower. It's going to basically be free to live in Miami at this point.
Rent has gone down over the last 12 months.
Rent's gone down, Nick.
That's a temporary dynamic
phenomenon.
Yeah, like you're basically going to get stuck into the place that you're in. Suddenly you're going to be like, fuck, I'm in Miami. and I can't get out of this.
Yeah,
hole.
I'm stuck in this beautiful place with palm trees and gorgeous weather and like just constantly just enjoying life to a degree that outweighs New York massively. This sucks.
What I will say is the New York City mayor was briefly running on Bitcoin. I don't know if you remember this when he was running. He was like, why can't New York City be a Bitcoin city? And I was like, hell yeah. What happened to all that? Where's the Bitcoin? I don't see the Bitcoin in New York. Where's the Bitcoin?
Okay, so you like Pio believes everything that comes out of a politician's mouth. So like one person says Bitcoin, and Pio's just like, "Oh my God, this is the greatest politician ever." Like I remember you were like talking about you were posting that Argentina guy,
Javier Milei.
Yeah, some news calls him like the next great dictator or something like that. I have no idea.
Yeah,
dude.
some anti-crypto bullshit news article. Yep.
So
even though he's not even a crypto guy.
So yeah, you were talking about Bitcoin, but then they're like, we're going to peg this to the US dollar, which is not.
No,
Bitcoin.
he's not all in on Bitcoin. He's really actually just like a libertarian guy, which also is something that I'm happy about. But no, he's not all the way in on Bitcoin yet. But hopefully the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, ends up orange pilling him. And Nick's out on Miami all of a sudden, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. He was all the way
this
in.
is a game changer.
And
This is crazy.
He waffles so much. You can't help but waffle.
It's not waffling. It's keeping people on edge and just taking.
That's what you want to do.
Taking a contrary position. Well, people do enjoy when you take a different position than other people on a show. So
on a show, but I feel like this is a real position.
This is a deep-rooted inner struggle that Nick's been dealing with. The internal dilemma is showing.
Okay. Well, this has been, let's move on to the next subject now. Hey, Signal, how's the weather report standing over there?
You know what? We feel warmed up and ready to deliver. So let's do it. It is Tuesday, December the 5th. Well, let's look at that market volume. It is 37.6 million. That is a wowzer. That is a wowzer, guys. Let's just get almost 40 million is coming up. We got Blur with the lion's share at almost 30. OpenSea almost at 7, but Solana, it is pulling back. It is down to 4.2. Looking at the market leaders, well, it's mostly red. We were euphoric green yesterday. Now we're mostly red across the board after the big pumps this weekend. You got Pudgies, they're down 4% to 9.4 ETH. Easy did say that holding that 10 ETH floor was going to be difficult. We're seeing that play out. Milady's also down about 11% to 3.5, but Captain's doing extremely well. They are up 10% to 5.1 ETH. Other movers include Jack Butcher's Trademark up 32% to 0.2 ETH floor. To Pire World up 26%. Crypto's up 14%, and Sappy Seals, they're down about 27%. Over the past 24 hours, the four major stories are Flamingo DAO just sweeping the NFT floors and exiting positions for anyone who didn't want to be holding a bunch of valueless NFTs. Well, they went on another shopping spree. This time they spent almost $600,000 buying art from Jack Butcher, Sam Spratt, Claire Silver, but also a bunch of PFPs like Cryptodes, Azuki Elementals, Subducks, and Sproto Gremlins. If we look at the daily ETH NFT trading volume, like we said, this is another local high of 37.6 million. This is up 6x in the last 2 months. So we are riding high, but Solana volume has come back down to earth, recording only 4.2 million in the last 24 hours. So that is down about 50% since its highs last week. On to the third main story. The winner of the day is Memeland. The coin is back as meme coin pumped 35% in the last 24 hours, nearing a fully diluted market cap of 3 billion, with Captains also following suit. They're up 10% to 5.1 ETH and up 24% in the last 7 days. And then lastly, Zeneca announced that Zen Academy has let go of the majority of its team and will stop focusing on trying to build a business and NFT project. Instead, they're going to go of the way of trying to build a community. The 333 Club holds a 2.1 ETH floor, while their PFP collection holds a 0.11 ETH floor. That is all for the daily report. The weather report, sorry. It is back to you folks in the studio.
Fantastic weather report as usual, Signal. Some updates from the Daily Digest. This is posted to X every morning, and it's pinned up top. It's also emailed to anyone that subscribes at thenifty.com. So go to thenifty.com, pop your email in there, and subscribe. First story, Wrecked Guy revealed that a snapshot was taken in October, with more details on the snapshot to be shared in the future. So our friends over at Wrecked Guy doing some interesting stuff. Loopify's endless Atlas Clouds announced a $2.5 million raise to continue building Web3 games. Damn. Wow. Very nice, Loopify. Very good stuff. Lil Pudgies added to Blend, but resulted in no significant price action for the collection. So easy. What is this like? What is the good and the bad of this?
You can take out loans, so we'll see some more liquidity in it, but you could also see cascading effects if the floor pulls back too hard. So basically, like, floor goes up, a bunch of people take loans against them to try to capitalize on some revenue. If floor keeps pumping, they'll continue to pay back those loans. It's more leverage in the NFT space, now giving basically the entire Pudgy ecosystem the ability for leverage, which
If you
good and bad.
Yeah, if you take out a loan on a punk, right, that has like a really good LTV ratio, I understand that. If you're going to take a loan out on a little Pudgy, I mean, come on, dude. How much is the little Pudgy? $2,000?
Yeah, but there's different levels to it, I think, in my opinion. Like, the way that I actually look at that, I'm like, this isn't a bad thing to have that there. Purely because it's like, if you have a lot of them, you can quickly get liquidity without having to fully exit a position. Like, dude, I have a bunch of these. And for me, it's like, if these things push 2, maybe I take out loans at 1.7, see if they go to 2.5. If not, I let them default and buy back in lower. Like, it's a leveraged market. Blur's just trying to optimize for NFT-Fi.
Well, there you go. Well, I saw so I know everyone's laughing that Nick's drinking out of his big ass water bottle with a straw. Real quick,
This motherfucking sippy cup over here.
It's literally an adult sippy cup.
I'm actually liking the straw over the over having like a giant hole, dude. If I take a gallon and just pour it on my face, dude, it's gonna come flying out of the bottle.
We know. So an absolute Chad swept the hell out of the Nifty portal floor yesterday, and I don't even remember how many he bought. But I click on his wallet. He's got the portals he just swept, and then he has this inappropriate amount of little Pudgies. I mean, he had a lot of them. So that was interesting to see, needless to say. Very, very interesting.
And OPEPE is the one that's very popular in this wallet right now. Seems like it's some sort of fund, would be my guess. I don't know what the deal with that one is. Yeah, it's whoever it is has a lot of exposure. And they're buying a bunch of the. Well, I don't want to see. I don't want to state my plays that I'm gonna make, because when I make moves, dude, like, the world knows, because that's like I have a significant impact on the market, generally speaking.
Well, to be fair, I don't think that your wallet and your money has a significant impact on the market, but you put out your Solana guide of Mad Lads, Claynosaurz, and BoDoggos, and all 3 of those assets started running. And then you also, I feel like, said one other thing, and the assets started running. You did mark the top of little Pudgies. That did happen, and I think
that's going back. People are like,
I know.
Shit, dude, yo, you down bad since you bought that thing," and I'm like, okay, I'm down, like, I am down 20% technically, but like,
buy more.
Yeah, I don't. Well, look, I have now 2 little Pudgies, anyways, we don't need to run the numbers here. That's still like a $4,000 investment. So I'd rather just, that's enough exposure for me.
Okay.
At this point, the thing I was going to ask is regarding the loans. Those are in ETH, and I saw what's the effective rate over, like, what's the APR or APY?
Easy.
It's variable. So, like, some of them are at 0%
APR for a loan.
Yeah, some are 0%, but some are as high as like 30 to 40%.
30 to 40%. Here's the thing: what you can do is, I guess, the upside. Well, it doesn't benefit. You could essentially stake the. I don't know how daily is it? Does it compound daily?
It's daily. It's daily interest. Yeah, and if that person who has the loan, they can recall it at any point, so someone else can then pick it up. Like, there's a lot of stuff like that can happen. It can get a little messy. It can get a little messy.
Well, I don't like the overall borrowing NFTs for leverage. That said, like, I don't understand the dynamic there. That said, if you need liquidity and you don't care about losing the underlying assets, you can use that to even buy more of the same thing and create a sort of like a cycle of pumping the floor, and then just let them all liquidate if something happens, which is pretty nice, It's a pretty good situation. Theoretically, if you can pump it high enough, can you
repay your loan and floor it.
Yeah.
Like, not even joking. If you
I
have
know,
enough
I know.
liquidity, you can literally run that floor up nonstop and then just floor it into it, which then causes a huge cascade effect.
I was thinking the same thing as Popcan. I mean, look, you're going to see one viral thread of some guy hitting this perfectly, where they did a bunch of loans and just made a ton of money, but then everyone else is going to get wrecked. But I understand why it makes sense to have the option in the ecosystem, especially if guys like Rom and institutional guys are going to be getting in the mix. By the way, we're going to have the CEO of an asset management firm on the show in a few weeks, ladies and gentlemen, that has $1.6 billion in assets under management. So it's going to be very fun to talk to him about how he thinks about, crypto in general. He's a big crypto guy. Anyway, next story. Ryan Adams from Bankless went viral for saying ETH at $2,200 is hilarious. I agree with him. The price is too low. Anyway, next story. I mean, Nick, it's going to go to all-time high again.
It will. But his thesis, there were some comments that were hating on it primarily because a lot of his thesis is around the L2. And someone said, hey, if he was like, I've been developing on L1, and he was like, why would you be building on L1? Why wouldn't you go to L2? And it's an interesting position. What
did Rom say? I see Rom responded. Oh, geez.
Well, he was actually referencing his own tweet implying the same thing, that it was underpriced. And I think he was referencing the SOL ETH ratio. This is actually where I saw that particular tweet. He thought that ETH was going to potentially take over from here. Maybe. I mean, typically it goes like Bitcoin, ETH, altcoins. Like
I've seen a weird run though, where it's like lately it's been alts then Bitcoin, or Bitcoin then alts, and ETH's kind of been like out.
I think, well, ETH has been. Here's the thought. Pio has stated this, and I kind of agree with it to a degree, that there was a repricing essentially back to the oversold Solana. Avalanche could be an example of something like that as well. That there's a couple of legitimate platforms with development activity. I remember back in like 2017 when we were talking about, and even before that, when we were talking about other blockchains, like Stellar Lumens was one that was like a discussion at that point in time. Whatever happened to that? Like, it was awesome. You could send a transaction instantaneously. I don't know what the hell happened to Stellar. I think it still exists, but like, it's just not part of the conversation. And now people are actually building real things that people are interacting with on these different platforms. So it feels slightly different. Before, it was a lot of, hopes and promises and visions for the future. Now we're actually seeing practical use cases of things, and which is primarily gambling. And things dressed up as something that's not gambling but is gambling. But yeah, and we're not calling it that because it's not a casino. It's not gambling, but it does involve chance and randomness.
Well, anyway, we'll see what happens with Ethereum. Next story, Third Web has announced that they experienced a security breach in November affecting the smart contracts of various collections. Easy, what do we know about this?
This is a little concerning because they haven't outlined exactly what the breach itself was, just that there is an open source library that has been compromised. So far I've heard Cool Cats has used this in some capacity. A variety of different artists have used this in some capacity, and it has not been exploited at the moment, which is why they may not have said what it is, because that could lead to obviously people then going and exploiting it. But there's a bunch of pre-built smart contracts that people are able to use. Airdrop ones, some mints, some other things. A lot of artists have used this platform. It's a little scary, I'm not going to lie. But right now it seems like they're just kind of announcing that this exists. The migration effect that they're going to have to do for this is the other really interesting thing for me. It's one of those things where like these contracts are not mutable. And now you're in a situation right now where if there's a security breach that's found, you have to migrate every asset. And that's a big concern. You know what I mean? Like this does worry me.
What projects used
Cool Cats use this.
Of course.
Yeah, so that was the one that was a big one I saw that was tagged. There's a few others. I believe someone in the Discord commented Rust's 480 pieces where he was doing a daily piece actually used this as well. So I know I've connected to that because I hold a piece. I think Pio may have connected as well. So it's
Yeah,
one of
so what
those
does that
things where I'm
mean?
like, we may have to revoke permissions on the contract, but I think I already have done that. That's the main thing. It's like if you've connected to any of these smart contracts and given it any level of permission, there could be some vulnerability risk.
Jesus. Revoke.cash, right?
Yeah.
So you said Coolcats used one of their pre-built contracts,
Yeah, for something, yeah.
but not for Coolcats itself.
Not for Cool Cats, no. But like maybe the airdrop, maybe something else. They had used one. That's the other thing is there's still a lot of conversation that hasn't fully dropped yet on some of these things. So like that's where we're still trying to figure out what is the risk, what should we be doing. They didn't outline a ton of stuff.
The risk is tiny. Here's why I think that I'm not saying like we shouldn't pay attention to it, but generally speaking, if you're using pre-built contracts, it's a garbage project. By and large, the only exception would be like Manifold as it applies to artist contracts. But
Gabe Layden thing, or that's not pre-built, or that's just a new type of contract.
Template of ERC 721C. That one's like tested, and I think in general, I mean, dude, I guess theoretically, Open Zeppelin is a pre-built contract. Technically,
yeah, you're just referencing and building on top of it.
Yeah, it's. I just don't know how many people were using Third Web's pre-built contracts. That's the thing that I'm not aware of. They have been positioned at, the guy who's behind this, Third Web?
No, who?
It's that Shark Tank guy that does, the UK Shark Tank version that also does interviews of a Diary of a CEO.
That kid?
Yes.
Stephen Bartlett.
Yep. He's the CEO of this company.
What?
Yeah.
Random.
Pretty crazy, right?
Random. Okay, well, we'll see what happens with Third Web. Sorry to Stephen Bartlett. Good YouTube channel. Next story, BoDoggos. You probably heard of those before. Hit 10 Solana and a USD all-time high. That's an all-time high for BoDoggos yesterday. Pulled back to 9.3 Solana right now. Love to see it. Thousands of Solana in 24-hour volume. Love to see it. Love to welcome all the new BoDoggos into the community. Last story, Li-Fi, is that what it is? Or LiquidityFi, I'm assuming. Li-Fi announced that Phantom's cross-chain swapper has brought over $3 million in liquidity to Solana, with over 2,900 unique users, and the average swap value has increased from $540 to $738 in the last week. Really cool stuff. Nick?
Clemente, who's the BoDoggo of the day? Oh, you're muted.
I don't have one today.
Nick, off the cuff.
You realize there's literally 250 days in the week, and there's over 4,000 BoDoggos, 4,000 BoDoggo owners. So how does that math add up, and why is it so difficult?
Because it takes up. We end up going on tangents. This is supposed to be an action-packed show. We didn't even cover any. Anyways, I'll add it.
You're blaming me.
No, I'm just saying we have an action-packed show today, and that can sometimes be 3-4 minutes.
Sounds like you're blaming Nick, dude.
Blaming Nick?
If we had started it,
community will not stand for this, Clemente. I stand with the BoDoggos community.
Yeah.
Your ass is being disrespectful to it. And look, this organization as a whole is built around the loyalty of the BoDoggos and portal holders.
Yeah.
And the fact that we even find it like marginally acceptable to just skip it over, or that you think that that's just like a casual thing, makes no sense whatsoever. It should be every day, 5 days a week, every day we host this show. It shouldn't be like Monday and Thursday.
Honestly, you should probably add Sunday in there too, just to give an extra one.
You could do a BoDoggo of the week. We could do a monthly one and send them a plaque for like the best
plaque would be
Plaque is pretty fire. So
sick.
basically, what I'm hearing is that Nick's dropping fire ideas. Nick's 100% for the community and standing with the community, and Clemente is starkly against. He's positioning himself starkly against the community. I think Ghost Skater has it right here. He goes, "Miami's got Clemente fucked up." He was like, "Miami got this guy fucked up." Like, let me tell you, you know what I mean? Like, because Clemente's going down to Miami and he's going to like have a popped collar and some sunglasses and be like, you know, hola. You know, he's like, I speak Spanish. Hola. And it's like, yeah, dude, we get it. You know how to say hello in Spanish. You're literally from Chile. Like, literally, dude. You didn't have to do that. Someone said Clemente is moving to China now. I don't know about that.
Hey, can we just pick up a BoDoggo real quick? Like, just like, is there someone we can shout out?
Oh, absolutely. I'm always down to shout out members of the BoDoggos community, unlike some people that are on this show right now. But anyway, we've got a gentleman in the audience that has been doing an insanely good job of just like showcasing BoDoggos on X platform. And I got him pulled up for, right here. Guess what? He bought himself a 1-of-1 BoDoggo. He's got frostbite. Whoever paper-handed frostbite to this guy, I mean, come on now. But this gentleman's name is It's Lloyd. Lloyd, motherfucker. He is BoDoggo of the day. It's Lloyd. He's got the fire emoji in his name. That's not by accident, man.
Hey, Clemente, can we pull up It's Lloyd?
We got it pulled up right here.
One thing for the community.
It's Lloyd is constantly showcasing BoDoggos and bringing an overall positive vibe and energy to the BoDoggos community. Without people like him, quite frankly, we wouldn't have a community as strong as we do. And that frostbite BoDoggo is so badass. You know what I'm excited about? I'm excited about immortalizing all of the 1-of-1s through some of the action that we're taking that I'm so excited to roll out in the near future. Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of really cool stuff going. Shout out to It's Lloyd. Let's go, It's Lloyd. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm following all the BoDoggos in the audience. Also, I've been forgetting to do that on some days, and I realized there's so many that actually listen to the show. Yep. So if you have your PFP in the audience, I'll be following you.
I got one I missed. Connorly.eth. I missed Connorly. Sorry, Connor. But I just followed you. I had missed you. He might be a new BoDoggo. I'm pretty good about following. I think BoDoggos would tell you I'm pretty good about following BoDoggos. All right, anyway, moving on. We're going to have the Claynosaurz team on in literally just a second. But before we, or Clemente, are we going to Clayno right now? Yeah. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have one of the top teams in the NFT space overall. The event at Amsterdam Breakpoint Amsterdam, whatever, was insane. I literally said to Nick when I was talking to him there, I was like, I'm glad you guys did this so we don't have to, because it just, like, to me, I was just getting anxiety. It was such a big production. It was so good. I was like, I don't want to plan something like this. This is too awesome. The toys look so good. We have Andrew and Nick from Claynosaurz. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
What's up, guys? Can you hear us?
We can.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, I'm super stoked to be here. I've been listening to you guys for, almost 2 years now. And I remember I cracked this joke yesterday, but like I met you, Pio, at the Boogles party. And I remember it was a Solana Breakpoint event, and you're like, I think nobody on Solana knows about us. But now that you guys kicked off BoDoggos, that's changed, right?
Yeah, and thank you for reminding me of that. But I mean, well, Nick's gonna say not.
You know who Easy is? It's literally shout out to Easy every time that like, yo, I had to support my boy Easy, and I follow them. They don't follow me, and it's just disrespectful, to be completely honest. But I actually prefer to be sort of like the quiet guy.
Sure, you're real quiet. Yeah, real
sure
quiet.
You do.
I don't buy that, dude.
Nick, the benefit of that is like these shout outs we get are great, but at the same time, when it's going poorly, I'm the one who just gets punched in the face for 12 consecutive hours every day while the sun is up. Every single day.
And that's because it's all your fault. So like like if things go well, I'm gonna take credit, on the ETH side. And then if things go poorly, I'm just gonna blame it on you. Like any good leader does.
Well, look, let's get into the meat and potatoes here. A lot of people might not know this, but you guys, the Claynosaurz, celebrated the 1-year anniversary last week. It feels like so much longer, or at least it feels like longer to me. I don't know if for you guys, you're like, it flew by, but what's it like to be 1 year under your belt, and what a year it was, right?
I mean, yo, it did not fly by. That shit took forever. I joined these guys like day after mint. And like you said, it feels like it's been a hell of a lot longer than a year. But it's been good, guys. I mean, we've done a lot. I think a lot of things happen in the background that people don't see. And this year was really one of those years where you're just growing the foundation of something that you never expected would be this big. And year 2 is looking hella exciting. We had the entire team in the office with us last week, sorry. And we're all super pumped going into 2024.
Dude, how big is that office that you guys got?
I'm here, guys. I can show you. Look, I got our friends with me.
Woo!
And then I'm in here by myself. You see, kitchen's in the making, and then there's like, desks and stuff over here. I'm the. You guys have us on this morning show, so early bird. I'm in here by myself at the moment, but folks will be coming in shortly. Yeah, there you go.
Voice is way too deep, so I didn't want to be in the office at the same time.
Yeah, and you can see it echoes. It echoes like mad. So you'd have us both talking over each other for sure.
Well, it's a proper startup environment. I think what I've experienced when, talking to people that are, NFT participants and stuff is that oftentimes there isn't like a completely deep understanding of what goes into creating this stuff. And in your guys' case, I feel like that's extra significant. Can you talk about the backgrounds of, the Claynosaurz founders and the people working at Claynosaurz pre-Web3, pre-NFTs? Because I think the NFT work speaks for itself, right? Between the trailer, the toys, and the actual NFTs themselves. But I'd love to get a little bit of background in front of everybody that might not be familiar. Many people are familiar, but some people might not be familiar about the background before Claynosaurz dropped.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess I'll start with me, like my least favorite part. My name's Nick. I'm one of the co-founders of Claynosaurz, and basically we put together a team of like just killer animators. This was almost 2 years ago, and we were building this thing out for like, I would say about 9 months before we actually minted. Like, we wanted to keep things organic and actually build a pretty airtight product. My background is in animation. So I've been in the animation and visual effects industry for about 13 years. I've worked on stuff like Jurassic World. I started my career at Sony. So that's where they do like basically every Spider-Man that's ever been made, including both Spider-Verses, Hotel Transylvania, stuff like that. Eventually I got into visual effects, so more like the King Kong kind of creature type work. And I became an animation supervisor. So I've supervised the animation for Game of Thrones, season 7, not 8.
Not season 8.
Yeah,
I like
God.
the caveat in there. I like the little caveat.
I had to, right?
But Nick, you can't leave
season
out my
7 was
favorite.
actually
We got
fun.
the Minions merch on. You guys were on that as well. You
Yeah.
can't leave that out.
Yeah. So I've been involved on all the Fantastic Beasts, a few other things, X-Men, you name it, basically like everything except Star Wars. And the team is pretty similar. So we've got like guys and girls from Ubisoft, Illumination. So we have people that were involved in the very first Despicable Me. So they've built out Minions. And I guess the idea here, and we have a lot of people from Spider-Verse actually, and our goal was to kind of do it for ourselves. But we saw like a huge gap in quality at the time in the NFT space. But we also saw like a big kind of opportunity for like a new paradigm shift in IP incubation and in the way that you can tackle entertainment in like a super fragmented ecosystem. Like nobody has attention spans nowadays. And yeah, that was sort of the play. But everybody comes from a pretty stellar animation background. Our advisors are pretty nuts as well. So one of our advisors was the ex-president of Rovio. So yeah, we're pretty stoked about that. And I guess I'll let Andrew talk about his stuff, which is pretty boring, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, look, as you can tell, Nick, they created this great founding team who brought everything to mint. And that's like the Claynosaurz team that most people are familiar with, which is the creative guys who could make cute toys and cute digital assets and all these things. But then, when you have this like great moment of success, you got to transition that into more of like a business. So that's why I basically started with these guys the day after mint. Like Nick and I sat down November 27th, we were having dinner, him, I, and a couple other founders, and sort of discussing the future of what this would be. And, that's kind of how most great startups start, right? You got folks who know how to build a really awesome product, but then to scale it, to bring it out into a larger arena and so on and so forth, you need a little more organization. You need to start doing all the boring stuff like accounting, HR, legal, corporate governance, and all this stuff. So my background is all in like sort of private equity, private credit, structured investments. We have a saying in where I come from, which is the best fishing is far from the parking lot. So finding really exotic businesses who are frankly just like awesome at what they do, but don't actually know how to progress past where they've gotten to. Often it's things like governance issues or just lack of sophistication in a particular area or whatever. So, to use like the lingo, the degen lingo, it's like you're looking for a company where you can build the alpha in yourself. So I'm here sort of like all these little bits and pieces that get forgotten, I'm just filling them in. So by example, this year we've hired, like Nick sort of alluded to, an advisory committee that has Gaetano, who's ex-head of Rovio, or president of Rovio, I should say. We've got the other person on our advisory committee right now is an ex-banker who spent like 30, 40 years at BMO here in Montreal. And then we've got a number of other folks on the team who are like head of brand, head of strategy, head of marketing, and bringing in folks to fill in all those gaps and build out those teams. So we're super proud of the team that we've built now. And like I said, it's one of those years where you're spending a lot of time just like filling in the gaps, and you don't just call like the ex-president of Rovio and say, hey, like, do you want to join my NFT project, right? Like there has to be like a succinct and like wonderful business pitch in there. And so, yeah, a lot of development throughout the year for those foundational pieces. And now we're like in this really great place to grow into the next year. So like the team is basically bifurcated into this wonderful, amazing creative team, and now this really great business and strategy team.
So normally I wouldn't ask this, but what is the business pitch at the moment? Because you're mentioning like Rovio, for example. I think Rovio game studio is Claynosaurz right now. My mindset is animation studio. What is that the business? Like how do you guys think about what is Claynosaurz?
So we think Claynosaurz is the beginning of a larger shift in the whole entertainment sector. I'll talk to it from like a consumer perspective, because I think it'll resonate with everyone, right? Like everyone now has access to so many different forms of entertainment. And when I say entertainment, I mean, like broadly speaking, things you spend your time on to decompress, let's say. That's like social media, that's streaming services, that's everything from like, YouTube to Netflix to Hulu and all these different things, right? Then there's also gaming. So to talk about Rovio, gaming is its own sort of entertainment avenue. And I haven't even touched on like real life entertainment. Like you could also go watch a football game, right? Like there's things you could do. There's a lot of entertainment options now. But sticking to the digital stuff, like 20 years ago, there was no competition, right? Like you had linear TV and then you had like DVDs. Like your on-demand access was really like going to a Blockbuster, right? And that wasn't too far ago. Like jokes aside, I literally used to work at a Blockbuster 20 years ago. So it's not that far in our past. And now you've got like entertainment businesses who are trying to take the same model of like massive, like $100-200 million budgets and throw it into this hyper competitive market where like a 15-year-old can launch something on TikTok and get 50 million views. And meanwhile, you just spent $200 million and you might not even like get box office numbers that are even close to that, right? And the cost difference between 200 million and zero is a pretty big one, right? Yeah. So it's impossible to compete in that hyper competitive market. So what we're trying to do and what we will do is basically make entertainment at this higher visual storytelling level more accessible to people, and also bringing the community together to create that brand loyalty that doesn't exist anymore in entertainment. I think like the brand loyalty piece is rather important, because without brand loyalty, you don't have any brand longevity, and without brand longevity, you don't really have a business that's capable of succeeding over the long haul, unless you have like these momentary events of like great box office numbers. But even then, the brand dies down. Like think of how many brands that resonate with you in the last 15 years. Like all the things you're going to think of are like Marvel. That goes back like 50, 60, 70 years. Yep. Then there's like Lord of the Rings is probably the most recent one, but that's early 2000s. And they got like Star Wars, Indiana Jones. These are way before our time when the brand loyalty already accrued. There's not many happening in the last 10 to 15 years.
So when it comes to brand loyalty, that still though is predicated on there being sort of like a delivery vehicle and a platform on which the loyalty is being built. Initially, for something like Claynosaurz, I'd assume that the NFT community would be the foundation of that beginning of brand loyalty. It just is. Like when it comes to NFTs, it's pretty crazy how excited people get about a picture that they have. I mean, we have it as our PFP, and that is the foundation of it. And then you have to build something upon that. And so most people outside of the NFT space would be like, so hold on. So explain that to me. So you guys created a picture and then people are as enthusiastic about that picture as they would be about a movie that cost hundreds of millions of dollars. You're like, yeah, exactly. But now the number of people, though, that are within those communities are different size. Like a Star Wars has millions and millions of people that are aware of, interested, and engaged with that particular brand. And so I wonder, like, usually what you would say is you mentioned gaming as an example. Like usually you would pick a path. There's an example right now with like Super Plastic is a new brand that I would use as an example where they did character development. They used Instagram and other social media platforms, but primarily Instagram, to build their reach around those characters that existed, and then sold products to the consumers, which were these custom plastic figurines, essentially. You all have the plushies in this case. Are you thinking about it in a similar way to that? Like essentially starting like productizing it and that being the vehicle through which that happens, with social media being the platform on which you guys develop animations and narrative and then distribute products directly to consumers? And is that kind of the next phase for like, call it 6, 12 months? I don't know what the timeline is. Or is it like, hey, we are obviously an experienced animation studio with a team that's worked at these Sony was an example, and other large studios in LA and Hollywood. Although Hollywood, I guess, is not just in Hollywood now, but and you guys are based in Canada. But the bottom line is, like, that path ends up resulting in like Netflix shows and things of that nature tends to be sort of the direction that people end up looking at. But it's not necessary nowadays. Like Super Plastic doesn't have a cartoon, which you would expect out of like, that's what He-Man or like any of the other toys back in the day would have used. So I'm wondering, where do you guys see yourself sitting in that sort of category of content and production for like, I don't know, call it 12, 24 months?
Yeah, I'll let Nick speak to the larger content strategy because that's his baby. But broadly speaking, you've hit the nail on the head where like, you can get to market earlier and develop a character brand by just having people enjoy the characters and develop them with them. And like the collector's journey starts with discovery, right? And so there's this great ability to do that, especially in the NFT world, where like you have these great collectibles where people get to discover these different projects and either ride with them or not. Versus like the Star Wars example, where it's like, you have like a plethora, like massive amounts of people going to see this movie, and then a small subset of them become collectors. Like that model used to work, right? But now, because of what I described earlier, it doesn't really work. And so what we've done, and kind of like you said with Super Plastic, is you get this great ability to build those like super fans and those like avid brand loyalists early on in the brand life cycle, and then grow with them outwards. And like you said, like it gives you the opportunity to sort of monetize as you go, but bring those folks into the pie as well. Have everyone participate with one another and sort of like grow with one another, versus the other approach of like, you throw all the money at the wall and like hopefully you get a few loyalists that are able to retain the brand going into the future. As far as like content strategy, you know, the show or like a movie, that would definitely be more like, that's like end game now, right? It's like basically on its head. Like you would do the show or movie thing after you've accrued that many sort of fans to support it. And frankly, to go like business side a little bit here, a show or a movie, like if you look at like an income statement, that's just going to be a big fat expense line. Like you don't monetize it directly, because like the guys at Netflix, those other guys are not giving you such a great deal that's going to actually give you like a margin that makes sense. So you're basically going to use that content to be this great marketing avenue in the future. I'll let Nick speak to like the more precise content strategy though going forward.
And real quick, before we throw to Nick, I mean, when I think about the idea of just, doing like some big film production these days and someone putting up $250 million for some like Pixar movie or something like that, that's supposed to be a big thing. Obviously, a lot of those movies work because Pixar is a very successful studio and, has a track record, blah, blah, blah. But if it doesn't work, that's really, really, really bad. And I feel like this model that you're talking about, like the modern model, and look, we've been talking about this for like 2.5 years. Literally, the first NFT I ever bought, when I bought it, they were talking about doing a movie. And I just understood that whole thing. It was like, okay, so I'll buy this NFT for $1,000 and like 900 other people are going to buy it for $1,000. And then that'll be some initial funding and they're going to drop more NFTs and I'm going to collect the series and that funding will lead to something bigger. The idea of just winging it and being like, yeah, I hope this IP sticks and we put $200 million into this movie and we're going to get it all back. That's just terrifying. I just feel like this is a more reasonable approach. But Nick, I'd love to know, what you're thinking about all this.
Yeah, man, I agree with you guys. And while like a TV show might sort of be endgame, it's not something we need. And I think that was the whole point of this. Like, when we came up with Claynosaurz, one, we knew we were Web 2 guys and we wanted to be like extremely we wanted to deep dive into the space. It's why we were building this thing for like a year prior, buying NFTs, getting into the ecosystem, understanding the community. We wanted to kind of not be tone deaf. I think a lot of Web 2 teams make that mistake of just like coming into the space and being like, hey, it's me, and it just falls flat. We really wanted to be a part of it. And the goal was like, okay, like how do you take an idea? How do you grow that initial idea into a character brand? How do you retain ownership of your creations? How do you reach thousands of people? And I think most importantly, like how do you use community to amplify your story and involve and reward early adopters? And a lot of that has to do with the content as well. And for us, we wanted to include a lot of the master plan was always going to be like, we're going to start including a lot of these collectors in the content. There's that emotional utility that comes with that. We're going to do a lot of that. The verticals that we're working on now is obviously your classic like TikTok, Instagram verticals. So you've got hyper short form. That'll be like 5 to 12 second clips. We basically just kicked off Instagram and we've done fairly well. We've back to back. We've done over 2 million on those 3 videos each. It's insane. And it's organic. It's organic. So like we're very, very pumped about that. But the goal is like every now and then we'll slow drip lore into it. We're going to focus on some key characters so that people can accrue familiarity with those characters. But we're always going to include memes for sure. Some trends, we'll tap into that. But we don't want it to just be trends, because if that's all you're doing, you're not actually going to fall in love with the characters. I remember talking to Nick about that at the licensing expo. And I think the goal is when you're incubating IP, you got to have people fall in love with these things. That's how you convert to consumers. And ultimately, yeah, we're going to focus on short form, eventually do a little bit longer form. So probably episodic on YouTube. We're kind of starting to work on script for that. And the plan right now, at least year 2, is to get as many people to fall in love with this brand that has honestly been designed for content to product, right? Like we design these things to be a heavy play on toyification when it comes to that, to be licensable, to be highly recognizable. That was something that we weren't really seeing in the space. And then we want to prove that this model works. And we want to do it again for perhaps other IPs or other artists that may want to do this and incubate them ourselves as well. But the master plan right now is to go pretty ballistics on Claynos.
Well, look, Nick, I mean, one thing that you touched on is like what comes to my mind immediately is the amount of power that you all would have, or anybody would have, being able to do this without a middleman, without a studio, and having all the decision-making power and having your own, resources to be able to create it. It really, really is a big deal. Like if anybody has worked in the entertainment industry, if anybody studied the entertainment industry, been familiar with it, you hear great stories, but you also hear horror stories about studios getting involved. And for you guys to be in control of your own destiny and getting real traction is incredible. I want to shout out one comment that I'm assuming Nick has another question. It looks like he might. Shay in our YouTube comments, a very loyal YouTube audience member, big shout out to Shay. He said, once I get Soul on Phantom, I'll get a Doggo and a Clayno. Well, Shay, first of all, Phantom's our partner. Phantom's got this cross-chain bridge, Shay. I don't know if you've listened to us talk about it. Over 3 million in liquidity already over to Solana. Send the ETH or whatever you got, whatever weird coins you got. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure you got some good coins, Shay. Send it over to that bridge, and you can have Sol really easily, and you can deploy into BoDoggos and Claynos. The mobile UI on Phantom's good. It's just a good product, so it'll be easy for you to get liquidity over if you do want to buy Claynosaurz. Nick, you look like you're deep in thought. What's going on, amigo?
I've seen that face before, Nick.
He's literally
you're
running
here to make some deals.
I'm like, I need this question. What's going on? But
I would let you know if I have a question. Okay, so I
do have a question.
Right now, I'm looking at your face. It's a little funny. So tell me about that.
I do have a question. So one thing that when I talk to other Web3 founders, and we've experienced this ourselves, is talent is very challenging to get. Well, it's challenging to get in any industry when there's demand. I used to recruit software engineers as my day job. And even like the Robinhoods of the world and the Databricks of the world, they have a lot of trouble getting the top tier talent because like the kind of big dogs in the room, the Googles and the Facebooks, they offer very cushy jobs that pay a lot of money. It's hard to get talent. In Web3, there's a unique set of talent challenges, which is the boom and bust cycle of our industry, the lack of kind of deep knowledge of the industry, deep like information on the industry, where a lot of people are like, is Bitcoin still a thing? Like, what even is that? Like, what do you mean? Like, what's an NFT? All this stuff. It makes it challenging to get talent. It seems like you guys have gotten really great talent. And so I wonder, what kind of went into that? Was it hard to convince these, very talented animators to come join Clayno? I wouldn't be surprised if they were really excited to do it because of what you're talking about. But, did NFTs, did that bring a set of questions that you all had to address? How did that go?
Yeah, it's such a good question. At the beginning, I'd say about a year and a half ago, it wasn't easy. We started off as a pretty small guerrilla team, and NFTs are still very much polarized, right? In let's call it like the real world for now, or the web, amongst the Web2 demographic, and that's especially true for artists, for animators, 2D artists, concept artists, whatever, in the gaming industry, and in anyone that's involved in movies. And I think it's because there's like a lack of education. And our goal, like one of the things we all told ourselves doing this is like, it has to work. And they all know us. It's a very small industry. And if we can just do it correctly, we might actually be able to really start onboarding a lot more artists and start proving that the model can work and that it's not this kind of like scam or whatever, that it's actually life-changing and it's perhaps a new paradigm in how you should be incubating IP. This whole idea of like a community-driven franchise, and that's what we wanted to do. And so, of course, we sounded like we were wearing a bunch of tinfoil hats about a year ago, and then we minted. And then we had this diehard community behind us, and they've remained diehard, if not even more diehard. And, it's changed quite a bit. Like I said, a lot of these guys and girls we were able to recruit because they know us. We're a familiar face. A lot of us have a lot of traction on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is like huge for the animation industry. Most of us are supervisors, have run teams for some of these movies, whether it's Marvel or for DreamWorks or whatever. And that raises a lot of eyebrows. So you've got a lot of these artists, they're like, huh. And I'm not gonna lie, the writer strike did kind of
that helped
do wonders for us. Yeah. Because all of a sudden we went from a little bit like, this crazy team trying to do something different to, this crazy team that's able to sustain itself when everybody else is looking for work and has no script to work on. And we're just kind of, doing it alongside the community. And now we get calls from some of the same people that rejected us about a year and a half ago. We get calls from people at Pixar. We get calls from a little bit all over the place, and they're like, "Oh, like let me be a part of this. These make me smile." And I think that kind of proves that master plan is starting to work, because for us, quality was going to be the great onboarder, in the sense that I think one of the things that's very polarizing for or that's not working for Web3 is the quality of stuff. Now, I don't want to throw shade, but for the average consumer, they see Bored Apes and they're like, what the fuck? Like $2 million for this? Well, not anymore, but, back then it was like, it's a lot of money. And I think that kind of it's hard to grasp for a normal consumer. But when they see something that looks like it was made by Disney or DreamWorks, they don't question it, and then eventually they'll be like, oh, wait a minute, that's an NFT, like why? And then they might actually get curious. So we're actually seeing a lot of that on our Instagram right now, a lot of comments that are starting to lean away from negative and more towards like curiosity, towards, oh, like, but this actually looks like a real thing, like why are you an NFT project? And that's sort of the goal here. And we did the same with our team of artists.
I mean, the sentiment shift can happen really fast. The Instagram success really, you know, can't be kind of undersold. It's really significant. How's it going on TikTok?
So TikTok, we kind of slowed down there because what we were going to do is the algorithms are completely different. And
yes,
what we're going to do with TikTok when we go hard there is you know, unfortunately / fortunately is actually focused on a lot of memes and a little bit less story driven over there, tap into the whole, like, you know, Gen Z stuff. And
very diplomatic way.
Yeah,
of putting
it. But it's fun. It's fun. And, you know, we have a whole team that's going to help us. Zane was just onboarded, as you might know, super psyched about that. But we have to tackle each of those socials completely differently. Instagram, what's amazing about that platform is there's a massive animation algorithm, and we can tap into that just off the merits of how strong the quality of animation is. But what we realize is we don't want to overextend ourselves and do all the platforms all at once until we're comfortable with one, we understand it, then we go hard on the other, and eventually we are working on all verticals at the same time. It's going to be the same with YouTube. YouTube, again, will be, you know, we can just recycle a lot of the stuff for YouTube Shorts, but for the longer form stuff, we'll have to work on what we feel is a lot more episodic, like 30-second clips.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for you guys, as long as people are really enjoying the content and developing that brand loyalty, everything else can, you know, fall into place, especially with the level of talent that you have. And that's hilarious. I mean, look, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram. We know the differences between the platforms. I love how you're like, we're not as focused on story on TikTok, you know. But real quick, Solana. So you guys could have dropped anywhere. You guys are a super legit, you know, talented industry team. What made you choose Solana?
Yeah, who goes first?
Yeah, you want me to go? The irony of this is that this decision was made before I actually joined Claynosaurz. But for one, I think, you know, you can see the result now, where like the communities on Solana are just so much stronger than those on ETH.
Yeah.
Which I think, you know, the best example I have of this is for those of you that remember that. What was it? The like Williams F1 wing competition where there's like 16 finalists and they're voting on it. And all 4 of the winners were effectively Solana-born projects. I think that says a lot, right? Especially when if you like take that chart and put it up against like the market cap of those things, people would start asking questions like, does that valuation make sense? And how to value an NFT project, we could talk about for ages. But I think like the community is something that's been really great here and is definitely like bearing fruit, especially for a project that is like, it's around a brand. The community is important to the growth of what we're doing. It's not like some infrastructure thing where perhaps you just need, you know, 2 nodes for it to work and so on. Like you need as many nodes as possible for it to work. So community is perhaps the most important thing. And then besides that, and by no means am I a tech guy, so I'm gonna really like dumb this down to what everyone already knows, which is that just the speed of transactions and the reliability of transaction costs is important, right? Because if you're going to build something on chain, which is what we're planning to do, you want that experience, again, going back to competition and entertainment, you want that experience to be flawless, right? Like it's got to be like click, react, and it can't be like click, delay, this might cost you $20 to move forward in like a game. And you're like, you know, that's not, no one's going to bite on that, right? So so those 2 things on the tech side were the most important for us.
Incredible. I mean, look, I love learning about this project because at the end, well, I'm a holder, but at the end of the day, I love to just see the progression of it. You know, last question, you know, what should people kind of expect coming out of the Claynosaurz camp? I think everyone's now aware of the plushies. Everyone's seen the progress on social media, you know, kind of seen the progress in the market. I know you already kind of touched on this, but the next 12 months, you know, what should people look out for?
So I think Nick is like typing to me or something. But what I'd say is, one, we got basically three things that we're working on, which is like the content layer, the physical layer, and the digital layer. On the content side, I think Nick already spoke to that, where we're just going to continue plowing through these different platforms, top funnel, get more people like loyal to the brand, or at least familiar with the brand, and hopefully that achieves a higher degree of brand loyalty amongst a larger demographic. On the physical side, obviously you guys already saw the one we launched. You had it up on the screen before. We're going to do more plushes throughout the year. We're going to focus on different distribution channels and building fans through this avenue as well. Keeping in mind that like if you're in Web3, you got to onboard like a friend who's like, let's say a 25-year-old guy. That's already got some frictions. Imagine onboarding a 7-year-old. There you go. So so there's like QR codes on these, right? So someone's gonna snapshot this and try and QR it later, but I'll do it anyway.
Oh God, Andrew, come on.
That's a dead QR because these are samples.
Okay.
but anyway, so the physical side as well, we're working on channels for that. And then on the digital side, which I think like everyone listening to this show in particular is going to be most interested on, we're building out effectively like an application that will be a content platform. So if you think of like Netflix as a place where you go to consume entertainment, you're going to go to Netflix. You're going to see like the moment you enter the first screen, right? There's like 30 different things you see, and then the carousel starts rolling, and then the top 10 changes every day. Sometimes I quit and I come back and the top 10 is different. Like there is no way to accrue brand loyalty on Netflix. Like it's just impossible. Like name one brand that's built out of Netflix that actually exists or that resonates in your mind, I should say. So what we want to do is build our own content platform, one where we can achieve a few things, continue to push out content, add sort of interactivity to the NFTs and the existing digital collectibles, but also capable of onboarding and retaining new folks in the digital realm. So for instance, these toys will have a conduit into that particular application where they can also exist and participate. And then the third thing, which I think is most important, is like on those platforms, like for instance, YouTube works as a network because you've got a whole bunch of people who watch and a whole bunch of people who create. And so there's so much content that keeps coming up all the time that you click into YouTube like every morning or maybe multiple times a day, and then you check what's new and you go in there because there's so much stuff. So for an entertainment brand, it's pretty tough to like Nick's team, even if I bought Disney, like Disney cannot put out content 5 times a day at that quality, right? Like they just can't. It doesn't make any sense. So what you've got to do is figure out a incentivization mechanism for your community, keeping in mind that we've started, like I said, like core community upwards, where we've got these really great brand loyalists. So how do you reward your brand loyalists to continue creating content, sharing the brand, creating their own content, and basically perpetuating the Claynosaurz name? So the idea is to bring people into this digital content platform, incentivize them, which I'll leave to the imagination for now, but anyone in Web3 can sort of understand what incentivization means. And have people rewarded for sharing and creating their content that is Claynosaurz. And if you build that platform correctly, you now have the foundation of what entertainment looks like in the future. So if you go a step forward, like brands over time, if you're Star Wars, you might last 20, 30, 40 years. I think Claynosaurz can do the same thing. But once you've got that UGC, the user-generated content running itself, and for instance, Star Wars, a lot of the content that exists today is user-generated, right? There's a whole bunch of folks like doing their own stories and participating in their own way around that world. Now, let Claynosaurz go on its path. What's the second thing you do? Well, what if you build another platform? Or what if, for instance, Claynosaurz is for, the like 5 to 9 year range, right? Now you're 15, but you've accrued all these incentives on the Claynosaurz platform, and now you're like, well, I'm a little older. I want to do something a little cooler. Like I want to go play Fortnite, or I want to play whatever the next Fortnite will be. Well, now, rather than having that person abandon all of their hard work and that digital asset pool that exists in the Claynosaurz world, now you've built a platform where they can transfer that to a new brand, right? So now entertainment brands, like for instance, a Disney or a Pixar or whomever, who has one hit movie and then invests all of that margin into trying to get the next hit movie, now you could take all of that IP value and transfer it into a different brand. And the same for the actual fan, right? You might have played, I don't know, let's say World of Warcraft up until level 100 or whatever it is. You spent tens of thousands of hours, and now you're like, fuck, I want to play something else. But you've lost all those hours. Imagine being able to transfer all of that work into the next sort of brand that you want to be a member of. So you have this underlying entertainment infrastructure that allows the transfer of your brand loyalty across different brands. And the idea for Claynosaurz and for the larger entertainment paradigm that we're building is that us as the foundational brand on this platform will bring in our holders and bring in the folks that are most loyal to us into Claynosaurz and into this larger paradigm that will be the entertainment sector in the future.
I wish we could like fast forward to when this is just like there's sometimes where I just, want time to go by so I can see the end result, because I like to think through what I think is going to happen. And I'm just pretty damn excited about everything that you're talking about, sincerely. I was also thinking about this idea recently, is that our first NFT cycle, call it like 2020, 2021, 2022, there were a lot of theoreticals. Well, what if we could do this with our NFTs? What if this happens? What if that happened? And there were a lot of teams, and there were not that many teams that were super duper, like actual legit talent and capable of utilizing the resources generated from NFTs to build something that's actually big and significant. I feel like this go around between, Mad Lads, Claynosaurz, us, Pudgy Penguins, all these different brands, Campai Pandas, there's real talent here that's using resources to drive things forward. Here we go, Nick. Give it to me. Give it to me, Nick. Let's go.
I'll let that Nick go, and then I'll go. But yeah, both Nicks are like,
and just be like, so you're telling me that we shouldn't just take all of the money out and go on vacation?
A lot of people did that last time. I mean, really?
No, but it's funny you say this, P.O. Yeah. Like, if you look at those teams that you're mentioning right now, these are teams that have, again, I'm not trying to throw shade, but that have, I'd like to think, achieved a lot more with so much less than some of the projects that went absolutely ballistic in the bull run. And I think
so ballistic, so ballistic.
Like, and anyways, I'll leave it at that. But we've done quite a lot in our year one with almost nothing in comparison. And
launching at the literal bottom, bottom. Love it. Absolutely love it. Look, ladies and gentlemen, check out Claynosaurz. Use the Phantom Bridge if you don't have Solana handy, because it makes it really easy for you to send over Ethereum or quite frankly, some other stuff to be able to get Solana. Check out Phantom Wallet, our partners. Follow Claynosaurz on Twitter. That's at Claynosaurz. Follow Nick. Follow Andrew. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. This was awesome.
Thanks for having
us.
Absolutely. Can't wait to see the next run of the toys. Very, very good stuff. People keep talking. I mean, I see Jux posting videos of his son spazzing out over the Claynosaurz NFTs. I showed my mom the Claynosaurz NFTs, and like Nick was pointing out, she just got it. She was like, oh, that looks like the other big time children's IP products, whether it's like Pixar or something else. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. We'll be back tomorrow. If it's your first time listening, we do this show Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern time each and every week, right here on Twitter Spaces.
Yeah, real quick.
Yes.
Before we end on the IP thing, there is one thing I remember Nick mentioning this on the character side. You were just like, yo, I showed this to my mom and she ended up seeing it. The thing that stands out is the eyes. I remember when you just had Andrew, the character there were two that were sitting on the desk, and there was another one with the eyes on top of the head. It really is. Those eyes make you just fall in love with the character. And I think there's something that you guys have really nailed that element of it. And I remember Nick emphasizing that. And I'm like, I think about it as the whole, but I think starting with that place to me is so interesting. And it comes through with those individual characters where you're just looking at it and being like, oh my God, those characters are so cute. The eyes are such a key factor for them. I don't know.
I do remember that. That was very valuable insight for us. And
I remember, man. You were showing me BoDoggos at the licensing expo, and I was like, focus on the eyes. That'll be your thing.
Hell yeah. I mean, look, the level of detail, it makes a big difference. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back tomorrow. Shout out to Claynosaurz. Thank you guys for joining us the show. We will be back. Here's a little